Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast. Dave, it is April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. I don't have any good April Fool's jokes for you today because actually when this gets released, it's April 2nd. But April 1st is when we're recording it. No April Fool's jokes from me. How the hell are you doing?
Doing great, man. I had a good Easter weekend, which was a lot of fun. It was just the four of us, which was great. Really enjoyed that. I ate a lot of junk food, which at the time was great. And then last night, I said to Casey, it's great. I feel terrible right now. I said, this is actually great news because tomorrow, which is now today, I'm going to wake up, get back to my routine, my dieting, my exercise, and I feel great today. So it was nice to taste that little bit of junk after 75 hard, but I'm already right back on it. So I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. I actually can relate with you there. Easter was very quiet, just the five of us, church, and then Andine made a huge breakfast for Easter, like she always does. But we didn't have to entertain. We didn't go anywhere else, so it worked out perfect for us. We ended up having some friends come over later in the evening just for dessert because, as you know, we can't have a holiday without a cheesecake from Andine. She made a mega chocolate chip cheesecake, which was out of this world to die for. And then our other friends brought over some brownies. Andine made that dirt cup stuff with the chocolate pudding and with the peeps in it for the kids. And it was overall a good Easter, nice and quiet. But it was a good one. Nice, like I said, you and I both had the same situation where we both just did it with our families this year. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't host, none of that stuff, which was kind of cool. So, it was good.
Yeah, pretty awesome. 5 years ago, man, we had just really connected for the first time. And we spent our first Easter with you guys, and we're in the swimming pool. The kids and I were kind of talking about that this weekend. We're actually thankful we weren't there this year because you guys had 50 degrees and rain, and here it was 80 degrees and not terrible. So we flipped this year. It was great.
Yeah, we had a rainy day yesterday on Easter, somewhat rainy day today. And last year on Easter Sunday, I think it was 90s. It was in the low 90s because had just gotten back to Arizona. And I remember going to Easter and sweating our brains off. But yeah, no, cool. All good things. Yesterday, the Lord has risen, and we're going to touch base on something that came out in the news just a couple of days before Easter today. I'm not going to worry about it right this present moment. We'll get to it. I just want to start off with a Bible verse really quick before we get into a show. We got a great show today to talk about, but I'm going to jump. It is the first of the month. I'm going to jump into Proverbs 1. I don't want to read the whole thing, but the last two verses of Proverbs 1 is what I wanted to touch on today. And it says, it's verses, so it's be 32 and 33 in Proverbs 1. And it says, for the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. Pretty straightforward. I've been wanting to read that one. And like I said, that's your Bible verse today. Go read all of Proverbs 1. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think for those of people that don't really read the Bible, they don't understand the Bible, they don't know how to read it or where to start. I always say John's a good one to start with because it's pretty straightforward. But if you read Proverbs, it actually perfectly ties in. Proverbs, there's 31 days in a month. There's 31 Proverbs. That's a great jumping off point for someone who doesn't really understand the Bible, because really what Proverbs is, the nice thing about Proverbs is it's really like its purpose and theme is like to just talk about what's good and bad, right? Good and evil. That's the world that we live in. Gain, wisdom and instruction and doing the right thing and fair and all those other things. And it talks about those that aren't, those evil people that do bad things. Well, guess what? Their time's coming. Proverbs 1's a great place to start. First of the month, read Proverbs 1, then read Proverbs 2 each day, and you'll get through Proverbs in a month. And you really can. It's also good chunks because you're not reading like 5 pages of the Bible, right? You're reading one. So you can take your time with it and read it and understand it and, take notes and all that stuff. But yeah, Proverbs is a great place to start. So I figured I'd say on April 1st, we're recording. Let's start with Proverbs, a verse from Proverbs 1. So yes, that's what I did.
Right. I dig it. Perfect.
But,
good start.
So today we are going to talk about. We'll get to the Final Four today. We'll get to the Final Four today. We'll talk about UCONN dominating, which is great. But what we really want to talk about today on Full Force Fathers is it's a new month, it's a new quarter, and it happens to fall on a Monday. So what better way to talk about than pretty much time to get moving on goals, right? What are your excuses? It's very maybe a couple times a year where the month lines up on a Monday. It just so happens to be a new quarter. Quarter
Mm-hmm.
one's over, it's quarter two. Believe it or not, we're 25% through the year. It's hard to believe that we're 1/4 through the year. It's nuts, but we are. So today we're going to talk about new quarter, new month, on a Monday, new goals, continuing on goals that you may have. But I want to start, Dave, today because I got the book on mental toughness from Andy Frisella. I didn't get to it right at the end of 75 Hard like I wanted to, so I started reading it. I told you the other day that I read the foreword by Tim Grover, and it just fired me up like it's nobody's business. So after
Mm-hmm.
75 Hard ended, I did go a couple days without reading, just pure laziness on my part. But I want to just read the first page and a half of chapter 1, and that's how we're going to tie it in and start into new goals, new quarter, okay? And so we are going to start chapter 1, and it says, your last 1,000 days. Do you want to see a magic trick? Show me your last 1,000 days, and I'll tell you exactly where you are in life. I'll tell you your body fat, what car you drive, and how good your relationship is. I'll tell you your income, your goals, but most importantly, I'll tell you how happy you are. How? How can somebody tell all that just by looking at your last 1,000 days on Earth? Well, it's really simple. Every one of us is only as strong or as weak as our routines. And with a 1,000-day sample size, you can easily see those routines at both the micro and macro level. By looking at your last 1,000 days, you and I can see the answers to questions like, how are you spending your time? Where are you spending your time? Who are you hanging out with? What are you reading? What skill are you learning? What work are you doing? How much sleep do you get? How are you exercising? What is your diet like? Do you execute on a daily basis? Do you have short-term goals? Do you have a long-term strategy? Do you drink water or sugars? Do you do deadlifts or drugs? Do you have a sex life or a porn addiction? Do you have a gym membership or a fast food loyalty card? Are you watching documentaries or reality TV? Do you get outdoors or are you part of your furniture? Do you want others to win or do you talk shit and get jealous? Do you give back to others? Do you go to bed at night knowing that you killed it or do you lie there full of anxiety thinking to yourself, damn, I wasted my day? Have you ever asked yourself those questions? Sometimes it's not easy to do. It means looking at ourselves and our lives in the mirror when you don't like what you see. That's hard. If you're being honest with yourself, truly honest, answers can be brutal. It can seem like a monumental task to turn your life around, but the reality is that it can be done. So as long as you follow the right steps and then keep following them, one foot in front of the other, over and over and over again. So, thoughts?
Powerful. It's very powerful. To me, I know we've talked about it on the show before. Time is going to go by regardless. So it's what you do with that time. 1,000 days from now, you're going to look back and you're going to know that you could have done something different, or you could have lived your life a certain way. And we talked about it with career. So like, what are you going to do right now so that 1,000 days from now, you're going to be the best version of yourself? We talk about that all the time because 1,000 days are going to come and they're going to go. And you're either going to be in a better position, the same position, or a worse position. And quite honestly, only one of those things makes a positive difference, and that's bettering yourself and getting better. So why not put the work in over the 1,000 days? And it's not going to take 1,000 days. If you put in the work and you win 9 out of every 10 days, if you win 900 of those days, your life's going to be a significantly better place than it is right now. Listen, I've been there. I've been in that place before. I've been in that place financially. I've been in that place physically. I've been in that place with my faith. I've been in that in that singular place in 3 different areas, the 3 areas that we focus on as full force fathers. And it is imperative to make the changes, that recognize where you are in life, where you can make gains, and use that time to your benefit. Because again, it's going to pass regardless of if you do it or you don't. And it's hard, man, when you're sitting in that position and you know that you wasted a day, right? You wasted a day that God gave you breath and allowed you to wake in the morning. Man, that can compound over time, and it's really hard to get out of that. But you just have to get yourself to a place where you can recognize that you can do better. And whether that's just getting up and going for a walk. And I love what Andy said there. Are you a piece of your furniture or not, right? Get up and just go for a walk. Get outside. Do something that's better than it was yesterday. Don't spend any money today. If you spend money every day, make today a day that you don't spend any money. Or if you never do anything with your faith, pick up the Bible, like you just said earlier. Read Proverbs 1. Just do that. If you make little strides every day, you start making strides towards becoming better, you're going to get there in no time, and you'll be in a better place 1,000 days from now.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that he asked in that first page that really, really, really mean a lot to me. You said the first one. That's my favorite one. Do you get outdoors or are you a piece of your furniture? That is just absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's the truth.
Yes.
As you all know me, go outside is my motto that I live by every day. One of these days I'm going to sell it on a t-shirt and a hat, and then you guys are going to buy it. The other one is, do you have a gym membership or a fast food loyalty card? That is a good one. And then this one I want to break it down because this one, it kind of talks about, it talks about your last 1,000 days. Do you have a long-term strategy? Because he ends this big section, and I didn't even say it when we were reading it. He talks about, turning a giant oil tanker at sea. And you've already read this book, so you know what I'm saying. And if you haven't read it, go get it. But he says right here at the very bottom, he said in capital letters, your routines equal who you are. And it just couldn't be a more accurate statement. Your routines are who you are, right? Because if you're a lazy piece of shit and you're a piece of your furniture, you know what I mean? Those are your routines that make you a lazy piece of shit and make you a part of your furniture. If you're super fit and healthy, your routines probably reflect that. You probably go outside. You probably drink a lot of water. You probably hit the gym. You probably watch what you eat. If your bank account's in the negative, you know what? Your routine for the last 1,000 months, it didn't just all of a sudden happen. I'm not saying it couldn't just happen where you lost all your money overnight or some bullshit. That can. But if you're broke or you're debt, up to the brim in debt, it's probably because your last 1,000 days, you've done made shitty choices with your money, right? Your faith, if you're down in the dumps and you're an addict and you don't know where to turn, you probably haven't gone to church or read the Bible in the last 1,000 days. I want to talk about this in the sense that, because the headline topic, right? It's a new month, it's a new quarter. So maybe 1,000 days is super overwhelming for a lot of people, right? 1,000 days is a long time, Dave. It's 3 years, right? We're talking the last 3 years.
Yeah,
so
long time.
But there's 4 quarters in a year. What if you broke this down to quarters and you started today? Today is going to be the day, and then in 3 months' time, you can look at what you did in the second quarter, right? It's not hard. It's a pretty substantial time. You know what I mean? It's enough to create a habit. It's 90 days. Right? 75 hard to 75 days. You could do 75 hard or not, but 90 days gives you a good enough sample size. It's technically about a tenth of what 1,000 days would be, but it still gives you a sample size to know what you're working on. So for me, I'm going to be vulnerable here for a minute. There's something in here that I tend to be, and it kind of bothers me because as a commission-based mortgage guy, right? There's a lot of competition in my industry. You know that. You have your realtor license. There's a lot of competition out there for me. And I wholeheartedly believe that I'm the best that there is. I think I'm the best loan officer. I may not be the smartest, but I think I give you the complete total package. Something that I struggle with, and this is just me being vulnerable for a minute here, was what we do on Full Force Fathers, right? We come from experience and point of, I get slightly envious or jealous of people. When I see other loan officers doing more business than me, it kind of bothers me a little bit. And I don't know if it's because I'm jealous of them. I'm not jealous of their lifestyle. I'm never going to change my lifestyle. I am who I am. I am my own personality. But I slightly get a little bit envious, a little jealous. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm just as good as them. If not, I think I'm better than them at doing loans. I make good loans, but they're doing more business than me. And I'll be honest, I shouldn't look at it like that. It says right here, do I want others to win or do I get jealous? I should be celebrating them and saying, hey, good job. Whether we have the same core values or not in our business, they're still winning. So I should not be pissed off about that or envious or jealous. I should celebrate that. Like, hey, congratulations, dude. You're knocking out of the park. You know what I mean? And it should make, in turn, should make me want to be better. And Andy says it all the time. And this is not a show about him, but he says it all the time. The world and it reciprocates. If you truly want to see other people win, you will win. If you sit there and talk shit and you're jealous of other people, it's going to come back to you in the same exact manner. So for me, that's something I got to get better at because I do like seeing other people win. And there's plenty to go around. But I don't know if it's a natural tendency that people just get a little bit jealous or a little bit envious or butthurt or whatever the hell the case may be. I need to be better at that. That's something I need to work on in this quarter because I have big goals for this year and this quarter. And I don't know, Dave, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something is that a natural
Yeah,
tendency in people?
I think it can be. It goes back to the scarcity or abundance mindset, right? In that current, in that situation that you're talking about, it sounds like you've got a scarcity mindset with that. Like there's not enough deals to go around. When the fact of the matter is there is enough deals to go around. And having an abundance mindset, knowing that there's plenty of people to help, there's plenty of people that you can make an impact on your life, and then in turn, getting that, getting that money in your paycheck and helping grow your family and the lives that you have. It's really making that distinction of, do I have a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset? Yeah, man, that one hits hard. I think that one is one of the most important ones in there in that list that you read out of the book earlier. And it is true, man. When you have a genuine conversation with someone, like inside, if they tell you that they're doing great, are you truly happy for them? I don't know. That's something that you and each listener that's listening can answer for themselves. And if you aren't genuinely happy for someone, I think it's because you've got either a scarcity mindset or you're just in a bad place with yourself, and it's something you need to dig down deep and understand. Like that's something for me that when I was going through and working in a commission-based job, in real estate, and when I was doing some of the financial advising stuff, I did have a scarcity mindset, and that has certainly changed for me over the years. Like now, man, when I hear that you got a deal in the pipeline, he gets into, I am so incredibly excited for you. And I hope, like, obviously we all want to be successful in life, dude, but I hope you become the top loan officer in the state of Arizona, or in the country for that matter. And it's just genuine happiness for me. And yes, you'll have a better life than more abundant life than me at that point. But you know what, dude? More power to you. If you're going out and you're putting in the work and doing that, we should all be excited for those that are doing that. Hey, Full Force Fathers, that's what we do. We're encouraging each other to be better in every asset of our lives. And if you can go out there and you can go kill it, drag it, bring it home, and keep doing that and doing it and doing it and putting the work, dude, more power to you. And that is fantastic. Capitalism at its finest right there.
Yeah. Hey, be quiet. Don't say that word too loud. We might get shadow banned or something. You say capitalism too loud, we're in big trouble. We can't be talking like that, dude. Capitalism's a swear word these days. You don't want to listen. We may have hey, you never know. We may have a trans capitalism day. You never know. It just may happen. I don't know, dude.
You never know.
But
it might happen.
I like what you said there. Like, dude, you have to have a genuine happiness. And I hear it in your voice when I tell you I have a deal in the pipeline. You are fucking more pumped than I am, I think. And I notice it every time I talk to you. And I'm like, dude, I'm working on a deal. And you're like, fuck yeah, dude. That's what it is, man. Because the ultimate goal is to, be able to give back, right? Because that's what it comes down to, man. I don't want a lot of money for me. I'm a minimalist. You know that. I have 7 pairs of clothes. I wear the same gym clothes every fucking day. I have 3 dress shirts that I alternate at church. And if I got to go to a meeting, I don't have a lot of stuff. I don't want a lot of stuff. That's not what I want. If it was me, I'd live in a camper and I would travel the world and I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't own a house. I wouldn't do anything. But I want to be able to give back. There's so many things that I want to be able to do and give back. And that is like a big focus of mine throughout this year. And, it's like I said, it's a perfect day to work on new goals and new quarter, new month, new Monday. As to how to put some strategies to tie it back into that. What's your long-term strategy? How to tie in that strategy for what I'm looking to accomplish. I'm looking to accomplish X number of loans or sales a month so I can accomplish X number of dollars that I want to give back or X number of projects that I want to work on to help those that need, whether it's giving back to the church or it's giving back to, you can name anything, helping fund a sports program or giving back cooking for the homeless. You know what I mean? There's so many different things, but that just comes back to me having to fine tune my long-term strategy goals to get where I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we just talked about that specific instance, but bringing it full circle for Full Force Fathers and the things that we want to do, right? We've said on the show before when we talk about finances, doing a budget. Yeah. In order to get like a really good budget and really get the hang of it, takes 3 months. You know what else is 3 months? A quarter of the year, right? Yeah. So spend Q2 working on your budget, honing it in, because then by Q3, you can be on point with your budget, know exactly what you're doing. We just did 75 hard. We completed that in the first quarter. Here's an idea. Even if you don't want to do 75 hard, you could exercise, eat better for the whole quarter. And if you did 75 hard, that still means you have 15 days. That's more than a day a week that you don't have to like be on the program. So even if you're just doing 75 days, not truly 75 hard, you can still do 6 days a week and be significantly better than you were at the start of Q2 when you start Q3. So there's all different things you can do to just better yourself financially, spiritually, and physically.
Yeah, no, you're right. I love what you said there. You don't have to do 75 hard because,
No.
it's hard. Some people don't want to do that. It's a hard challenge and some people aren't up for the task. But if you look at it as a quarter, you can do so many different things.
Yeah. And quite honestly, dude, most people are going to fail it. And at the end of the day, if you just fail
Mhm.
75 hard and you go back to the life you had before, that's not benefiting you at all. Now, if you do it the right way and you fail it and you pick it back up on day one and move forward, well, that's one thing. But the fact of the matter is most people don't. So don't sign up for something that you're probably going to fail. Just take incremental steps and say, you know what? For the next 90 days, quarter two, I'm going to be better. 6 days a week, I'm going to exercise, whether that's a run, a lift, a walk. It could just be a walk. I'm just going to move 6 days of the week, and that is going to progress you significantly further along than if you were to do nothing right now. So even if you just walked 6 days of the week, you're going to be in a better place than you were. And listen, the weather's getting nicer everywhere around the country. I mean, Tucson it might get a little too hot, but get up a little earlier, right? We're getting to that stage of the year where now these are the things you can do to make the first half of 2024 successful and set yourself up for an awesome back half. And then by the time we start talking about Q4, and we start talking about, oh, the new year's coming, what are you going to do? Maybe you won't have to have your New Year's resolutions that you fall off the first month of the year anyway, and you'll have these good, clear, established habits, and then you can make actual goals instead of resolutions and make a hell of a difference in your life in 2025. So set yourself up now, do it a quarter at a time. I love that.
Yeah, I love it because, like you said, then by the time you get to 2025, you'll already have 3 quarters under your belt. Do you have 9 months of progress under your belt before you start worrying about what the hell your new goal is going to be, or your new you said your New Year's
Yeah.
resolution that you're not going to keep up. But if you have
Yeah,
9 months under your belt of getting better, I mean that is a
for sure.
tremendous accomplishment, dude. Think about it: 270 days. It's 90 days a quarter. In 270 days, what do you think you can accomplish in 270 freaking days? You can accomplish a real lot in 270 days. So, work, like you said. I don't want to copy what you're saying. I don't want to say anything that you just said again, but like what you just said a couple months ago, dude, get up, work on going for a walk every day, work on your budget this quarter, work on your faith this quarter. All right. I already gave you the stepping stones for your faith. Read Proverbs 1 through 31 every day this month. Well, guess what? There's the first part of the quarter already done. That's 1/3 of the quarter done. Couple that with a walk, couple that with some I love when you talk about couple with some no spend days or a written budget
Yeah.
or whatever the hell you got to talk about. Start by, hey, this quarter I got a small balance credit card. I'm going to pay that credit card off this month. That's what I'm going to focus on. That's my financial goal for the quarter. Now you're not saying,
Mhm.
oh my God, I got to pay off 50 grand in debt. No, you do it one at a time and you snowball it throughout the year.
Right.
And man, what a difference one quarter can make. And then who knows? Maybe if you're not ready for 75 hard now, but if you walk 6 days a week for this quarter, maybe by Q3 you will be ready to do 75 hard because you're already going to have a nice
Yeah,
baseline there
for
for it.
sure. I love what you just said too, man. We always talk about the Ramsey baby steps. That's the process, right? So if you haven't started it at all, you can go back and listen to the baby steps episode. But hey, you know what you can do in Q2? You can definitely put away your starter $1,000
Yep.
emergency fund, and I guarantee you can pay off the smallest debt you have. So you can at least do those two things in Q2 and think about where you'll be heading into Q3, right? You can completely change, and if you're doing the budget too, you can completely change the trajectory of your finances in one quarter. One singular quarter can change everything. 3 months is all it takes to get your mind in the right place, get the skills you need, and make progress and feel that momentum building.
Yeah, and it starts with a word that you hear a lot around your part of the woods, and in your people that you work with. There's a word out there that not a lot of people talk about because it sounds boring, and the word is contentment. And if you can be content in knowing things take time, because everybody wants to get rich quick, they want the hack, they want to be fit in a week. If you can be content with making progress, you have no idea how much you can accomplish. If you say, I need to get everything paid off and I need to be fit and I need to be in tune to my faith in 30 days, then you might as well just not. It's like signing up for something you know you're going to fail. But if you can be content with what you have and work and know, hey, listen, I got a long life ahead of me. You could be in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. People live so long these days. You know what I mean? And be content with knowing, hey, if I make a transformation and it takes me 2 years, in the grand scheme of things, 2 years isn't that much. It's really not that much. Here, let's put it in perspective. 1 year ago, almost, I've been back in Arizona. Andy and I were just talking about it with our friends last night. We've been back in Arizona for a year already. Like, tell me this hasn't been the fastest year of my life. Are you kidding me? Like, so if you learn some contentment, Rachel Cruz has a great book. Rachel's got that great book about talking about contentment. And Andy, I think Andy bought it for me for Christmas. Was it Christmas that she bought it for me? And
so.
maybe
Love your life, not theirs.
Dude, that word, the word contentment is such a strong, powerful word. So let's turn the table a little bit here. I want to talk about UConn. Can we talk about UConn?
Of course we can talk about you. We talk about UConn all the time.
Dude, Final Four preview. Number 1, are they going to lose?
No, they're not going to lose. Are you kidding me? They just came off of an Elite Eight game where in the first half they had their worst offensive performance of the entire season. I would argue of the last 2 seasons. And then they came out. What did I tell you at halftime? No, don't worry. It's all good. Hurley's going to talk to him. We're going to be good. We're up 5, shooting the worst I could ever remember shooting. And they came out and absolutely annihilated the Big Ten champ. Conference tournament champ. Absolutely
By the way,
annihilated them. So, I mean, listen, Alabama's got some studs on that team. They can shoot the 3. I was telling you when we talked earlier today, if we can shut down Sears and we can shut down Stevenson, the game is over. Castle's going to play on one of them. Newton's going to play on the other. Listen, anything can happen in a one-game playoff. I've said that from the beginning. But UConn is definitely the superior team in the tournament that's left. Yes, I know there's another number 1 Purdue there. Zach Edey ain't seen a big man like Klingon in a long time. So I'm just really hoping for UConn, Purdue, so that UConn can just take them apart piece by piece Monday night of next week, a week from when we're recording this, and they can win by 20, 25 points. It's going to be great.
Well, here's the thing. Illinois is the Big Ten champ. I know Purdue is the regular season Big Ten champ. But Purdue has only one way to beat you, and that's with Edey. Edey has to go for 30 and 20. That's the only way they can win. I'm not saying they don't have some good shooters and blah, 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 blah. Good for them. UConn can beat you 100 different ways. There's been so many articles that have come out in the last couple of days about this team, how dominant they are, how they beat you. You know, the one that I saw ESPN does the reseeding of the seeds after every round. And they came out and they were talking about the reseeding of the Final Four teams. And UConn obviously has been the number 1 seed since the start of the tournament. Every reseed they've been the number 1 team, and it's just been unbelievable because they're just so good. But I want to read one paragraph. It's only like 5 sentences long in this article about when they reseeded the teams, and it talks about UConn being the number 1 overall seed. Blah blah blah. So I'm going to read this paragraph, and it says, "Yes, there was a 30-0 run, and it was one of the most memorable runs we've ever seen in the sport. And Illinois wasn't some afterthought. Brad Underwood's squad had just won the Big Ten tournament and had just defeated Iowa State, the top defense in America. None of that mattered because anything a team has achieved in the past does not seem to matter against UConn. It's not just that the Huskies executed a 30-0 run against a good team. It's how they did it. Caravan hit a 3. Spencer grabbed a rebound. Caravan missed a 3. Spencer scores. There's dunks in there by Klingon and Samson Johnson. Tristan Newton, Castle, DR, they all scored. As the Huskies erased Terrence Shannon Jr. in Illinois from the bracket, they showcased the dominance no team in the field has matched. Plus, there isn't one problem to solve with UConn. The 30-0 run also masks another element of this team's excellence, its defensive pressure. Over 4 NCAA tournament games, UConn's opponents have averaged just 80 points per 100 possessions. To put that in perspective, the Timberwolves have the best defense in the NBA, and they give up 108 points per 100 possessions. I'm not comparing it. The NBA is not even close. But what I'm saying, they're trying to make an apples to apples comparison about it, and that's the pros. But the Huskies have authored one of the most lopsided runs in recent Final Four history. Can they win another title? That is no longer the question. Can anybody come within 10 points of this crew? Seems like the only mystery at this point. And that is so right.
Dude, that's a good article. One of the things, I don't know if I told you or my dad this, watching the games this weekend. I watch as much UConn basketball as anybody. I watch pretty much all of their games throughout the season if I'm around. And they're all Fox Sports games typically. So you get the same announcers all the time that are calling the games. And they just kind of, I think at the end of the day, they recognize how good UConn is. And it's kind of like par for the course for them. They come out, they do a UConn game, and they know they're going to be fantastic. Listening to Stan Van Gundy this weekend, who had not seen UConn since last year in the tournament, dude, and having these guys watch UConn in real time is just amazing to me because you can hear the amazement in their voice at how good and how dominant this team actually is. And, they were talking at the end of the first half, maybe this is Illinois' chance. UConn better be careful. And then they came out in that second half and just went on an absolutely absurd tear. And you could just hear it in their voices, like how astounded they were at how good this team was. And then listening to Charles Barkley in the post-game press conference, they were asking just the question you asked. Is there anyone who name a team that could give UConn a game? Not win, but who could actually give them a game? And Barkley said the Boston Celtics. And I about lost it. It was so great. I'm like, because that's where they're at right now. And I'm sure Alabama, NC State, and Purdue are all saying, we want our shot at UConn. We want our shot at UConn. You know what? Everybody said they wanted their shot at UConn. A great stat that I hadn't even thought of was going into the Illinois game. Connecticut was at that point 12-0 in elimination games in their last 12 elimination games, dating back to the NCAA tournament last year, all the way through the Big East tournament this year, and all the way through the NCAA tournament again this year. Dude, that's hard. 12 times in a row facing elimination, and you win every single game by double digits. They've lost one game outside of the Big East in 2 years, dude. 2 years, one game, and that was a game in Lawrence, Kansas, down Stephon Castle in the first month of the season when they hadn't even found their way yet. So it's absurd. All my money would be going on UConn if I were a betting man, and I bet there won't be one game within 10 points.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. They've only lost one non-conference game in 2 years. And it actually would have been the win wasn't that impressive for Kansas. It would have been a much more impressive win for UConn because no one goes in Allen Fieldhouse in the second week or third week of the season and wins, number one. Number two, I read another article. I don't have it on my phone to read it, but came from I think it was a Barstool article. And it said that this team really should be getting ready to cap off a 40-0 season because here's the deal. They lost to Kansas when they blew a late lead in Kansas before they knew who they were without Castle. And oh, by the way, Kansas was the preseason number one team, and they were fully healthy at the time, 100% healthy. And that team healthy would have been a very, very tough out in this tournament with McCullers and all those guys, okay? So that's number one. Their second loss was the opener in the Big East with Klingon hurt, okay? And there's their second loss. At Seton Hall, tough place to play, small gym, not making any excuses. And their lowest recent loss, which was a long time ago at this point, they lost at Creighton. And the article said when Creighton shot 1,000,000% from three-point range. That's the only way you can beat UConn is if you can shoot 1,000,000% from the three-point line. Okay, so they really, the guy said they should be capping off a 40-0 season. They shouldn't even have 3 losses. They're that good. And I just don't see. What I like about the Final Four teams is this. They have upperclassmen, guys that have been playing for years. We talked about this earlier. UConn's got Newton's a senior, transfer. Spencer, transfer. Klingon and Caravan have been starters for a couple of years. This Alabama team that we're playing, transfers. You said they have like 7 transfers, Alabama. So they're all upperclassmen. You got Purdue, Edie, these guys are upperclassmen. You have NC State, seniors, grad transfers, graduate students. And there's been a shift in college basketball, and that's what makes UConn so good is Hurley has become the master of the transfer portal. Calipari was the master of the one and done when they changed the rule after LeBron came out. They changed it where you had to go to college for a year or you had to be a year removed.
Mm-hmm.
Calipari was the master of that era, right? He should have 2 national titles. They lost when they were 38-1 that year, when they never should have lost that year. That's how good they were. We've beat him in the
Mm-hmm.
Final Four when he had freshmen. In Kemp, was it Kemba's year? And then they won a title as freshman with Anthony Davis. It was like an inevitable title with Anthony Davis. Before the one and done in Calipari, you had the guys like Calhoun and Coach K. Boeheim got a title with Carmelo, was a one and done. But the guys that won titles, late 90s, early 2000s, before that happened in the
Roy
80s,
Williams.
those were upperclassmen. Yeah, those were upperclassmen teams. Those were juniors and senior laden teams that won titles because they played together for years. That era ended. You had the freshman era, the one and done era. Now we're in a new era, and you mentioned it because this is the last year, I think you said, of the COVID era, where the guys get the extra year to play. Well, Hurley's mastered that. And I think, like you said, we're going to see another shift. But we've now gone through 3 separate times where UConn and Duke and Kentucky junior seniors won titles. One and done's won titles. UConn still won titles after 04, and then they won in 11 when it was a freshman one and done. And now UConn's winning titles in this new transfer portal era. I don't know what the future holds, but I'll tell you right now, fucking Hurley has got this program so well. And he said, be ready, because this is the standard moving forward for UConn, is what Hurley said the other day. This is what to expect moving forward permanently from this team.
Yeah, he definitely is the master of the portal. I love how you kind of laid out how things have transitioned. I mean, back when we were growing up, when UConn was winning their first title, it was, juniors, Rip Hamilton and Ben Gordon and Emeka Okafor that were getting those things done. And then it shifted. It really did change, and UConn kind of fell out of it. Now we got lucky because we had Kemba Walker. We got a Kemba Walker. We got a Shabazz Napier who put those teams on their backs and won national championships. But yeah, it's so great to see teams with older players who have been around, have just learned to play, have found their role on a team, and have been integral in winning championships. I mean, last year's UConn team with Calcaterra, who was a transfer in, Tristan Newton, who was a transfer in, they made the difference in winning that national championship. And I just love I love that part of the game is coming back where you can have older guys who make that much of an impact. I'm curious, since we're talking about UConn, I don't think there's any question that this team is significantly better than the 11 team, the 14 team. So that leaves 4 championships. They're one of 4 other championships because this would be number 6 if they can pull this off. If they do, would this team be better than last year's team? Last year's team did go through the NCAA tournament without having a game in the single digits, so we just got to keep that in mind. I would say yes.
I want to say yes, better record. Last year's team had that terrible lull in the middle of the season, but I think that's because I would say yes. Here's the reason why. Klingon and Caravan are both sophomores. Newton's a year better, and Cam Spencer's better than Calcaterra. I think Sonogo would struggle with this version of Klingon. And then argue Jordan Hawkins was a lottery pick, but Stephen Castle's going to be a lottery pick. Klingon's going to be a lottery pick. So, yeah, I think this year's team is hard. It's crazy to say, but it's better than last year's team.
Okay. So then that leaves the 99 team, the first UConn title, and the 04 team. Are they better than one of those 2 teams or both?
No, the best UConn team is the 04 team, and it's not even close. The talent on that team was unbelievable. You had draft picks 2 and 3 on that team. Emeka Okafor, rookie of the year in the NBA. Ben Gordon went 3rd in the draft right after him. They were so dominant. They lost, and that was the best Final Four for me because they beat Duke in the national semifinal game in a game that we were losing. We shouldn't have won, but somehow we did. With Okafor and the baseline jumper and all that other shit that happened in that game when we were losing, and beating Coach K in his prime with all the players they had, and then the revenge game in the final when they just smashed the Georgia Tech made me so happy. I don't think there's a better final. So I think that's the best UConn team. I would argue right now that this team is the third best team until they win it. They become the second best UConn team because right now I would go 2004, then the 99 team, because that 99 team everyone forgets was 34-2. That was Rip Hamilton, Ricky Moore, Khalid Alameen, Jake Voskuhl. That was a good basketball team. Gritty. Dude, they were 34-2. This team is going to end up, what is it? Are they going to end up being 37-3, I think, by the end when it's all,
Would
if they
be.
win the
Yep.
next two? Yeah. If this
Hmm.
team wins the title, which I expect them to win, I would think, man, that 99 team would be fun one to watch. But I still think that 04 team is the best team that we've ever had.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't disagree with anything you said there. I do think if they win this, they ultimately have the best record of UConn in all time. I think that definitely moves them into the number 2 spot. But they got to do it. They got to get it done because what was that team in 2006? It was the best team UConn probably ever assembled, and they didn't make the Final Four. So got to get it done.
Was that 06 or 08, the Rudy Gay team? Was it 06?
I don't
Again, when
remember.
they
I
lost to
thought it
George
was
Mason?
06, but it could have been 08. Yeah.
Don't forget, we have that other team that no one talks about that we lost in the Final Four to Michigan State. That was the Hashim to beat AJ Price team. But don't
AJ
forget,
Price.
everyone forgets, we lost. Don't forget, Jerome Dyson was the best player on that team and he was hurt. He didn't play in that game. Remember, he never played against Michigan State, or
Mm-hmm.
we would have beat Michigan State and probably won the title that year too. We could really
Yep.
ultimately be looking at our 7th title if we were healthy
Yeah.
for that year. Because that team was to beat Sticks, AJ Price,
Mm-hmm.
right? Jerome Dyson was the 2.
Yep.
That was a good basketball team too. But that Rudy Gay team was the most talented team that they just never, they just completely collapsed under pressure.
Yep.
So, but I will say something about this last year's team and this year's team. There's never been a more dominant team. I think 04 was probably the best team, but this was the most dominant team. They literally have just been destroying teams. 04, there was a couple close games, the Duke game in the Final Four. That 99 team when Richard Hamilton hit the freaking winner in the paint against, who was it, Washington or whoever. I mean, there were some close games with those teams.
Yeah.
This team is just destroying people.
They are, but the competition I think overall was better than at least. I mean, certainly the Big East competition was significantly better in 04. You got to think that was the heyday, man. That was Pitt, Syracuse, Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, there were teams that were really good then that are not in the Big East anymore, and that still stings. But competition was tough for them.
Oh, for sure. The teams were better. I mean, look who we beat in '99. We beat Elton Brand. We beat Will Avery, Trajan Langdon. You know what I mean? We beat a lot of great players. I think 04, didn't we? Was Battier on that 04 team? Sheldon, was that team? Yeah. I mean, we beat a lot of good players, that 04 team. The 99 team, though, did beat Duke in the final, and they did beat Michael Redd and Scooney Penn and that Ohio State team in the Final Four. That was a good team. That was a really good team.
It was.
But yeah, I'd like to see us capitalize on this title, which would be really, really, really good. But yeah, we'll see. One more thing I want to touch base on. I'm in the mood to rant one more for another minute, if you don't mind. And I know we already Easter recapped it, right? We Easter recapped, very quiet Easter. But yesterday on Easter Sunday, I know I'm a bad Christian when I say this, but I get so annoyed by holiday. I call them holiday Catholics. Some people call them fair weather Catholics, and I shouldn't. And sometimes I deep down inside think the church cares about the money, so they don't say anything about it because they need the money, right? They need the funding. They need the basket. They need the plate passed around. And they know it's a big, it's a big event because people that don't ever go to church donate on Easter Sunday and Christmas Eve, Christmas Mass, all that stuff. But man, let me tell you, I'm a creature of habit. I usually sit in the same place at church every week. I eat the same food every day. And when the holidays roll around, I almost feel like I don't want to go to church. And it's because of the amount of people that you never see, and they come in and they're snooty and they want to sit in the front row and they have a shirt and tie on and they think because it's Easter and they're in shirt and tie and their kids look cute in their little dresses and their boys are dressed up in their little, vests and sweater vests. And maybe it's me, but I get annoyed by that very, very easily. And like we ended up sitting somewhere in the front row yesterday at church because on the side pew, St. Mark's, and where we would never ever sit, but it was literally we got there 25 minutes before mass started, and it was that busy. And I don't like sitting in the front row because I don't like people looking at me. Plus, I'm 6'5", and it's hard to see over me. That's not my thing. But I felt really annoyed yesterday. And then at the parking lot's a disaster. Nobody can get out. Nobody knows how to drive, number one. And then especially in a full parking lot with a bunch of snowbirds and old people that are here, it just annoys me when people do that. And they think they're entitled to whatever they want because they're at church, because look at me, I'm a Catholic and I'm here on Easter. And, they make the religious post of he is risen. And like, I don't know, dude, maybe he's looking down at me and saying, dude, shut the fuck up. But it annoys the hell out of me.
I go back and forth. At the end of the day, I'm happy they're there. At least they're going to church, even if it's 2 or 3 days a year.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing, right? Incremental progress. We talked about that before. So at least there's that. I do get your point. And I always laugh too when you get that many people in the church and then you get out into the parking lot. There's people blowing the horn and waving and like, what's going on? It's like you just sat in church and you told to be a better person, and Priest gave you all these suggestions of things to do, and you come out and you go right back to the way you were. So did you get anything out of it? I don't know. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm glad they're there. I think that's better than not being there.
Yeah, I guess. But either way, it annoys me. It annoys me. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm sorry if I annoy people when I say that. And I should look at the bigger picture of, hey, they're there. Congratulations. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
But when people aren't around and they feel like they own the place, it just drives me nuts. You're not there in the middle of June when it's 110 out and no one's at church, and you know what I mean? And you can't, there's so empty pews everywhere. You know what I mean? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I hear you.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh man, that's all I got for today.
All right. Well, listen, you enjoy the rest of your Monday. It's a new goal month. It's a new month, new quarter. Go out there and make it happen. Incremental progress, like Dave just said. Work on it. Take steps to getting better now. And that's all I got for you, Dave. Take us home.
Everybody get out there, continue to live the full force life. Just like we said, you don't have to look at a big, grandiose goal. Break it down into chunks, manageable chunks that you can make a difference. And just think how great you're going to be by Q3. So, see you next week. Enjoy the upcoming week. Go Huskies.